This is Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast. Your way of tapping into the Force from a galaxy far, far away. Hello there.
Hello, what have we here? Here's where the fun begins.
Count me in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast, and we are so ready to continue our Star Wars Rebels rewatch, and we are reaching our penultimate episode of Season 1 with episodes 12 and 13, Vision of Hope and Call to Action. Both were released on January 26th, 2015. They were directed by a pair of brothers, Stephen Lee and Stuart Lee, respectively, and they were written by Henry Gilroy and Simon Kinberg. I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you, especially for these. We've got a couple of goodies on our hands this week, especially Call to Action. How are you feeling after these two episodes of Rebels?
Yeah, I feel like maybe I'm a broken record in saying every week that we've just kind of peaked with Rebels and that we're going just higher and higher, but this episode was just kind of clear that we're cooking on a different level with just the animation, honestly, the story felt a lot more grand as well. It feels this is the episode that they knew coming into the season, maybe that they were eventually going to get to. But I think we're very, very blessed with these couple episodes. Rebels is I don't know. The more and more I watch it now, the more and more clear it's becoming of just how good of a show it is, and how I guess I binged it before, and I never really gave it the sit down. I'm only watching 2 episodes at a time, and I'm like dissecting everything. Right. And now that I am, it's not getting worse. It's only getting better. So exactly. I think that's a very good sign.
No, absolutely. Because I mean, we did the Game of Thrones rewatch for Winter is Blooming on Penny Bloompod, and now available elsewhere on Death by Television. Fun new series for you there. I liked the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones, and then we did it like that, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I liked the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones. So it does have a certain effect whenever you're dissecting it the way that we're dissecting it, you know, and it's holding up really, really well right now for us, especially considering that I generally view season 1 to be my least favorite season. I'm excited to see if that holds up under the microscope. You know, I anticipate it probably will, and that's incredibly encouraging. But I'm floored by how good the season has been. And these were a couple of goodies. I think that story-wise, Vision of Hope was one of the best this season. But Call to Action all around, unbelievable episode. There was a level up in terms of animation. We mentioned off mic that we felt like the episode had to have been storyboarded like more than your typical episode. There's just so much in the episode that feels so tangible and so weighted. It feels so real and there, and I really, really appreciate it. The action is fucking glorious. The speeder bike action, and you know, Zeb on like the cannon at the end of the episode and stuff like that. All that feels like it's there. Whenever the tower comes crumbling down, like that whole scene, like it's all really, really strong. So that episode really stood out to me as being particularly good.
And I feel even the opening shot of the episode, it feels like classic Star Wars. You have the destroyer overhead, and then you have the Lambda shuttle coming down, and then the TIE fighters following right behind it. And like, I've never on an episode of Rebels been like, oh, the opening shot is good enough to to nail down as as my favorite. And
I literally went to the sheet because you were a little bit ahead of me as soon as the episode opened, and I was like, okay, yeah, he already got it. Same, you know, like at least that was my gut. That was the first one. I ended up spreading the love a little bit, and it only came a couple minutes later, whenever, you know, after they go on this chase through the town and they're leading them away from the ghost and everything. Whenever they get back to the ghost and it's just sitting in the field and all 3 of them like pull up one at a time, like that's fucking beautiful. And that was something I noticed about, I mean, particularly Call to Action, but there were a couple moments in Vision of Hope that I was like, ooh, okay. My shot is when they first go into the sewers and there's like this really deep green light on them. I thought that the lighting was really, really impressive, more so than typical Rebels landscapes give them a chance to be. It's typically a little, not flat, but like they can't do as much with shadows as they would probably like to all the time, and nor should they. That's a lot more work for a lot less reward, I feel like, whenever you're just under the Lothal sun. So like, I appreciated that when they do get in this particularly lit environment, it looks as good as it does, because it could have just been flat green, and it wasn't flat green. Part of the characters are kind of glowing a little bit, and I really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, the first episode, I guess I was in my head, I'm thinking this Call to Action is the great one here, but I think the thing I noticed in episode 12 was that like performances, people were even kind of stepping up, like Ezra and like everyone's voice just felt like they know each other so much more now. I don't like, and maybe that's just the show where we're further in, they've become their family sort of thing.
Right.
But like they're talking to each other differently, I feel like. And everyone just has so much emotion behind everything. And especially still Call to Action. I think like Freddie Prinze Jr. as Kanan just, I mean, it was like crazy just hearing him this episode.
Right.
But I really liked Ezra in episode 12. I thought he had to actually reach a lot. Like Taylor Gray it's crazy to me that it is a full-grown man acting as a child's voice and doing all of these things, and that like it never hits me like that while I'm watching the show, just because I take it as Ezra. Like he's just a young kid, and to just have all of these crazy different emotions and going through all of it, and we have no visual cue of their face whatsoever. Right. It blows my mind every time.
No, yeah, Taylor Gray did stand out. He was very, very good in that first episode, especially like the sense of betrayal you get from him when Travis, and the like naive hopefulness he has at the beginning, which isn't a bad thing, that's inherent with the rebellion, like that's something you want, but like I just want to hear Travis's transmission and stuff like that. Like it really, really sets you up to be let down whenever he does betray them, and it's really, really strong. And in that first episode, it feels like Hera has to be the character choice. I mean, she had that man fucking clocked.
Oh, dude, yeah, Hera. I mean, it wasn't even close for a character this episode, and I think we do got to go back. I got to fill in the rest of the sheet, but I feel like Hera is just gonna.
Yeah, Hera and Kanan have been fucking railing this so far. If you look at our last, including these episodes, it's like Kanan, Hera, Kanan, which is pretty hysterical. Like and I appreciate that Rebels does have those standouts. There's not often. There's a second choice, but like there's a first choice. You know what I'm saying? And like it's kind of difficult to go with anybody else when it comes to the character pick, because I loved her, man. She got to be a little bit more one-on-one with Ezra, which was good. I liked that a lot. We don't get to see a ton of that, and when we do, I always really appreciate those moments. But whenever Travis does betray them and she knocks him out, and then Ezra just kind of looks at her and she puts her hand on his shoulder and like nods like, dude, yeah, like that gets me, man. I really, really loved that.
It's like when the betrayal was happening, Hera knew that it was coming and kind of like looked to Ezra to see like his reaction as well. And like and then like coming up and handing him he has the blaster, and Hera just being like, yeah, a true rebel would know if he's holding a charged blaster or not, and she was so badass here, getting the punch, I mean, just knocking the dude out. And she even like, oh, damn, like that, it hurt her hand a little bit, she was like, oh, man.
But she was like, it had to happen. Yeah, she's a badass, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, I was, the end line, I think this was at the end, Hera saying, we have hope that things can get better, and they will.
Yeah, it's my line.
I think. Oh, that was yours. Okay, I was reading the wrong box. Hello, sorry to steal the thunder there.
No, that's okay. It's a good enough line that I thought it would be your line.
I guess. Oh wow, yeah. I guess I was. I feel like I had a Hera line. I took down a bunch of lines actually for this episode. Okay, this was the hairline I was thinking of. They had hope that they could do something to make the galaxy a better place for their son. And then Ezra was walking down or climbing down the ladder right as Hera was saying this, and then Sabine kind of goes like, ahem, cutting it a little, kind of like, hey, let's switch the topic here for a little bit, and man, it was all of these just. Sabine finally gets Ezra, but Hera is still like keeping with her strong rebellious spirit and saying these things, but it's not really the right time for Ezra to hear it. Sabine knowing that, like, I feel like this is the little like things that I'm noticing now that just makes it feel solidified. I don't know the word. It's like it's they've come together fully now, it feels like.
Well, and there's a playfulness that Sabine has in this episode, or in these episodes, that I really, really enjoy. I picked Tia Sircar as Sabine for my performance in the first episode because she gets to be she gets to be Sabine, she's playful and she's snarky and witty, but like I love the lines whenever she's like, I can smell you, remember? Like that whole thing, like she's obviously playing, like toying with Ezra to a degree, she's affectionate, she means it, but like it's a funny thing to like understand that it's not a strictly positive thing that she can smell you, Ezra. But he's like, you can smell me, huh? You know what I smell like. It's super fucking funny. And so I appreciated Sabine a lot. So I would have gone with character had Hera not been so strong, but I wanted to give her some love somehow, so I went with Tia Sircar for the performance there. She was good.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know. Performances are kind of nice. I feel like we can. That's the one where it's not like the character where there is the standout. I guess sometimes there is a standout performance in the week, but everyone is doing great here. And I mean that. Where I lost it again. I have too many lines. I have to get rid of them. But the stealthy Dev Morgan one, that was just to give like
stealthy Dev Morgan,
yeah, him coming up. But that's right, his vision that he had this episode, and I guess is this his first vision?
Yes,
that he's ever had. Okay, yeah,
won't be the last, but it is the first.
And then he's talking to him after it's happened, and I feel like he's on a mission. He's super hopeful, and Kanan was like, he tells him to not always trust fully or whatever, but then Ezra lets out you've always told me to trust my feelings, and I've never felt stronger about anything before in my entire life, and it's like, I don't know, it was just he's wearing the helmet, fully. Is he blind? Is that the like he's fully blind in that helmet, or can he see through that visor when he's training at the beginning?
I'm pretty sure he's blinded, at least at the beginning.
Because at least I think so. It makes it the visor. It's I don't know. I guess he could see, but it'd be really cool if it's just he's doing the classic Luke and Obi-Wan training with the little, whatever that ball droid I guess is called, the little training droid. But it's cool just to see him. He's slowly coming up in his Jedi training and everything, and he gets his vision and
locks the fuck in.
He's full in the fight now. I mean, the dude is like, he was a lone scav. He's surviving on his own now, but he's like, now he's in, and it's not over. You know, I guess that's the end of Call to Action. I think is him sending out his message and being like, yeah, no, this is just
done.
Beginning.
Yeah,
like, he's like, I feel it now. Ezra, he's
in. Like, yeah, so, I love it. And I love the way that he finally gets to channel his parents in a meaningful capacity. Hera telling Travis, they're not gone. As long as we're still fighting for what they stood for, they can never be. I was like, okay, god damn. I love Hera, man, and I love that Ezra emphasizes the whole. That's what my parents taught me, and that's what my new family reminded me of. That shit hits for me, man. I'm a sucker for it. So, like, in the second episode, Ezra's message is my favorite part of the episode. Again, because the storyboarding is incredible. We're cutting back to him. We're cutting to Tarkin and Kanan getting on the ship. and then the explosion of the tower, and that, as one, like that's hard. I loved the way that the second episode was paced and edited. It was just so thorough and so well done, and I really, really liked it, man.
That ending, I mean, showing that the Empire is, they don't give, I mean, to blow up this tower just because one transmission is getting out that they don't like that's crazy, and you're right, that back and forth, the stakes were there. You have Kanan having to fight the Inquisitor, and they're all nearly escaping, and all this. The action was crazy in Call to Action, and if you're going with the his message at the end there, that's good. I'll spread the love and give my scene to whenever Kanan pulls Ezra aside, and he's like, he notices something's wrong with Ezra a little bit, and he's like, hey, let's take a walk, let's just go talk. And I think that's when he's like, hey, yeah, your vision, you can't fully trust these things, whatever. But he delivers the line of, we have to move forward. When the time comes, we have to be ready to sacrifice for something bigger. And just the foreshadowing of Kanan's death here, and then
and the way it works in tandem, because like obviously we know now that the show is over that he does sacrifice for something bigger in a even more meaningful capacity. But by the end of the next episode, or by the end of the episode, he's sacrificed himself, and he's laid down and let them capture him while everyone else can escape, And I think that episode has a lot of these next few episodes have a lot of parallels to the episode in which Kanan dies. Whenever it comes to the episode before and that episode, the deal is that Hera's been captured, and they're going to go try and break her out. Now we've got Kanan who's been captured, and they're going to try to break him out. And, the final standoff where Kanan looks back at Ezra and is like, I'll see you then. And he shuts the door behind him and stuff like it's good. There's a few visual cues, a couple angles. I really, really appreciated it. It looked good. Hera being unwilling to leave and Ezra having to jump on and be okay with leaving. Like it's a goodie. It's a goodie.
Yeah. I don't know. We're being fed with Rep. I mean, it's crazy to me that people still will just never give this show a chance simply because it's animation, and they're missing out on things like this. And we're not even. This isn't even the penultimate episode. I don't know if it is like Thrones,
right?
In fashion, where the penultimate shit's gonna go. I still have really no recollection of what the finale even still is. I mean, it's crazy that I'm basically watching the show for the first time again. I know the huge beats and things that happen, but I'm seeing these things, and
right.
It's some are coming back, but a lot of it is just new and things I did never notice before. These little intricacies between everybody, and I almost went with Moff Tarkin here for the character and performance, but then I'm like, okay, character-wise, I can't really get behind Moff Tarkin too much. It was more for like how he just came into this episode and was just like,
yeah, the presence he possesses is,
he's the dude. Yeah. Like, and the Inquisitor can't even talk to him. No,
none of them can. It's bizarre, Like, I mean, it was the same in Episode 4 with Vader, and we know Vader, we know he doesn't fuck with that, but there's something about Tarkin that they just can't come up against, and I've always struggled to comprehend precisely what that is, but I think it's just that he's in Palpatine's good graces so closely that it's like, if you fuck with Tarkin, you're gonna face the consequences, sort of thing.
Yeah, is it like that he's just the general, kind of like there's like hierarchy wise, does it go Palpatine, Tarkin, and then Vader, you know? Or
Vader's like the enforcer, whereas Tarkin is an actual mind.
I guess maybe Vader's just known, and it's just like, if you ever see Vader, you just know you're dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like you accept your fate, so it's just like you have to be afraid of Vader. But Tarkin is almost just like, if you see him, you know that, like, the senator is like, oh, what an honor to have you here, and Tarkin's like, it's not an honor for me to be here.
If
You're
I'm
like,
here, you fucked up.
Yeah.
I went with
So-
Steven Stanton for the performance because he was just so damn good at replicating the voice of Peter Cushing, with his whispery,
What's the,
cat-like purr thing he's got going on.
I feel like I'm trying to think of a word he says where he rolls his R's, or like a
The rebellion.
rebellion. That's a good
yeah,
one. Yeah. Okay, but man, yeah, he did come in and own it.
He's so
but-
good, man. And that's the thing, is that there's a brutality that Tarkin brings with him that even our Imperials don't really comprehend as being possible. You know, they're ready to strike down the rebels, the criminals, they're ready to take them out. You know, like, there's still a brutality to them, but it's against what is in their mind the right people to execute it on. Tarkin comes in and executes 2 officers right in front of Tua and Callus, and both of them are like, oh, okay, so this isn't what I thought it was, because we are dealing with 2 characters that do defect. They both eventually leave the Empire. Both Tua and Callus, both after seeing this, I'm assuming specifically after this, and then things down the line, feels like a turning point for both of them to kind of go, well, if I stick around, there's a better chance I die with them than I do the rebels. So,
Damn, that's crazy. That's just like anyone who has like critical thought inside of the Empire. Like, it's like I feel like they're all just kind of Nepo babies, or they were just in there and they don't really know what they're doing. But the second they're like, oh shit, this is what I'm doing, that they're all like, what?
Hold
what
the
if I
fucking
don't know.
phone.
Yeah, it's
what
like,
am I doing?
wow.
Yeah, no, and that's what's interesting about people that succeed within the Empire and they rise up the ranks. Like, they must strip you of your humanity. Like, that's one of the interesting things about the book Thrawn, with the mentioned but not shown yet Governor Price. She starts that book as a pretty normal person. You know, she's just excited to succeed. She's excited to get, like, she wants to prove herself, and she has great ambition, but the ambition isn't inherently evil. She wants to protect her family. She doesn't want them to lose, like, that's what she wants, and she aspires to a higher station so she can help her family. And then the Empire strips her of that humanity, and it shows her what politics and the Empire are, and you've got to get down, you got to get dirty, you got to be mean, you cannot be a good person. And she slowly becomes a fucking awful human, and that's what we see in this show later on. So, like, that's always been something that's really interesting to me, and I think that when it comes to, like, ISB agents particularly, it's a little different. I think that they're brainwashed to a degree. They all are, you know, like, you can't, some of them are just evil, but some of them have to find their way there. And it's obvious that Callus isn't inherently evil, you know what I'm saying, as we know him to not be later on. And so that's why I'm like, there's a certain degree of, I wonder what training they undergo at, like, the ISB Academy that, like, leads them to be so stone cold. Like, because even looking at, obviously, Andor with Dedra Miro and Partagaz and all of those ISB agents, and the degree to which their cold brutality, like, I don't know, like, there's a certain degree where that you have to have disconnected yourself from humanity and your humanity at a certain point. So I that's always been intriguing to me too.
Yeah, the Empire, they do like their humans, you know, and I feel like there is a superiority complex that they have. I feel like maybe that's how they get in their heads, and they're just like, hey, you're in the Empire now, you're getting high up, you know, you're the one making the real change. Yeah, I feel like there's a mission that people have to do where it's either you're all in or you're not, where the Empire is either going to have you do something so grotesque where you either do it and you have to be full in, or they'll just kind of kill you if you don't do it. I don't know. And it is just, they are evil, and it is, I'm trying to make sense of their logic and everything.
That's true.
And
You
so,
know, like it is hard to make sense of a fascist evil that you can't really comprehend or relate to in any capacity. But no, I think that we've gotten enough evidence from various like the general in the Clone Wars who ends up being a high-ranking Imperial officer. What was his name? It was voiced by Tom Kane. He had the deep voice, and he did. Oh, what was his name? It's gonna piss me off because he appears in Andor, and he was I can't remember it right now. Because that's the thing is he's like real down with Anakin Skywalker, he's real down with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he seems like a good man, but he's a general in a war, and you're fighting against droids, so it's like it's the same thing, you know, you get to let go of your inhibitions a little bit. You're like, well, they're not actually dying, they're, you know, like they're being deactivated, you know, and that's there's a certain solace you can take in that, but the desensitization to mass murder to a degree might take an effect, and I wish I could remember that gentleman's name because
you said he was in Andor.
Yes, not a huge role in Andor, but he is in Andor.
Because I'm on his IMDb at least, and I was trying just to scroll down because
the voice is Tom Kane, the actor is not.
I see. Then that might be why. Because checking his Clone Wars cast of characters,
probably a lot. Yeah,
the dude does plenty. A lot.
Let's see.
So it'd be an Andor Imperial officer.
Yeah.
But
I wish I could remember it because it's completely escaping me right now. But yeah, no, like so that's a good example where like you are obviously. You started as something and you've become something else. And if that's because of your ambition, if that's because of what you aspire to, I don't really know. But
yeah. Man, I don't know. I can't find it anywhere. I don't know why. But man, yeah, this I guess the stories are everywhere. And
Admiral Yularen.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. I was gonna piss me off until I found it.
Today,
Admiral Yularen. Yeah, that was his vibe.
What was I don't know. I feel like he had did he always have a saying that he had when he opened up an episode, or was it just got right into it?
He would he would get right into that same guy though, like same guy voicing it. But yeah, he'd the Galactic Senate, you know, whatever he was gonna get up to, he made it fucking known and quick. But yeah, no, Admiral Yularen, good example of a guy who never seemed inherently evil, and then he rises up the ranks in the Empire after the fall of the Republic. So like, there's a degree of like wanting to maintain your station in some cases like that. There's a degree of aspiring to a higher station, working within the system that exists. You know, and finding yourself towards the top. And if you, I mean, obviously, I won't even say obviously. There's a lot of people who would not go, oh, well, the United States government is a lot like the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of people who would not make that leap. But if you do find yourself in a position of power where you have command over militaries or armed forces, or you do have the ability to dispatch police at your will or anything, to impose an order which exists because you've decided it exists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a degree to where you could probably go, hold the phone, what am I doing? You know, like a little bit. So like, it's not entirely far-fetched to know that people would go ahead and let go of what they think is strictly right or wrong, as long as it's right within the system that's been set up, you know? And I think that's
easy to be like, okay, we're dealing with planets and galaxy-wide implications here, and like, we're not even close to there yet, but it's the same thing with the country v. country. You know, we're just on Earth. We're doing it on one planet. And it's made clear with the Empire that it's very, very bad because they're doing it on such a grander scale. But the only scale we have as humans is Earth. That is the biggest scale we got right now. And I think, like, also, I feel like it's a there's a connection just between the dark side and how they get pulled in, and it's just all their feelings and anger, and like they just want power, and it's the easy route. And I feel like for non-Force users, it's just, well, the Empire, they offer you this, will give you a seat of power you can climb and get more and more powerful, and
it's actually kind of interesting that it's a little bit of the opposite of the Sith in terms of how you find yourself there, because it's almost more cold and logical than it is heated by passion. Like, it is kind of like, this will result in what's best for me, because I'm not going to be an enemy of the Empire. I will just be within it. And frankly, that's a better move than it's like Rogue One, it's never a problem if you don't look up, like there's, if you don't pay attention to what flag's flying, what's really the problem?
And I loved I think you brought it up, and maybe it was a couple episodes ago, about how, like, if you are like in the Empire and kind of like a low level troop, not to say you're dumb, but it's like they kind of want
they want you to be dumb.
Yeah,
I mean, the dudes they kill this week are dumb. They're stupid guys. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what's the double-edged sword, is that, like, they want you to be incompetent so you can't question their orders, but when you're too incompetent, they're going to fucking kill you because you're cannon fodder. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are literally just a spoke in the wheel that they can just pluck out and replace at any given time. Like, that's what they want. They don't want you to be important, because if you are important, they're going to make you important. You are too smart to stay there. You've got to rise the ranks, and I really appreciate the way that this show has kind of made clear certain Imperial sentiments might not be the right word, but like sensibilities more accurately, like just kind of the way that they think on a more day-to-day basis versus what we know as being like, oh, they're evil, they're the Empire, and I do think it's funny that we've kind of flopped on what the show started as, which is that whenever Tarkin's like whenever the Imperials are like, yeah, we actually saw do it last night on our own, there were no casualties. And Tarkin's like, see, and that is important. There were no casualties. This rebel band has more discipline than others. They were like killing motherfuckers at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, no stuns here. We're not in the Bad Batch, we're not stunning people. We're murking everybody. Yeah, and that's, I don't know, I guess maybe that's why it's so great here, is the stakes are as high as it is in like the regular Star Wars movies, and you have the clear good versus evil side. And I think it's just we're getting into the minds more of the good side and the bad. Like, I'd rather not see all these intricacies of the Empire and blah blah blah. I'd rather just stay with the good and comfort family. But it's nice to have that, to know exactly
what they're up against, And that's what's cool about it, is that coming into the show, we know how the Empire is toppled. We know that the rebellion wins, which automatically sets you up for a much more personal story. It has to. It has no choice. We know they don't defeat the Empire in this series, but we know they fight against them the whole fucking time. And I think that that's really, really cool. I think that and obviously they have their wins, they have their rebellion, they have their side of the story, like I do feel like they win within the context of this show. But the way that they have to do that is by telling us a much more personal story with our band of rebels, and frankly with our villain. I feel like we get to know the Empire better in this than we do in anything else. Is there anything we could really say we get to, I mean, like the Bad Batch,
Andor,
maybe Bad Batch, and Andor. But like these television shows, they've given us a chance to dive into the Empire a little bit deeper than we would have previously. And well, obviously, I don't love them. I would prefer to stay with my heroes. It's nice to see the villain side of the story. I like because I know they're evil no matter what. It's not like I start to sympathize with them because I'm watching their fucking story. No, like it's just cool to know what they're thinking at any given point. And I think that like that little moment where Callus and Minister Tua, like whenever Tarkin has the Grand Inquisitor, who they know to be more powerful than they can comprehend, listen to him.
Yeah.
Listen to him unabashedly. They're like, okay, this motherfucker's not to be played with, okay? And I really, really like that. It's strong.
Tarkin even says, like, man, they say, well, one of the rebels is a Jedi, and that's why we haven't been able to do anything. And Tarkin's like, man, if we only had someone who was specifically made to deal with the Jedi.
And then he just, snarls at him. It's like, oh, dude, I love it. But
Man,
that's the other thing, too, is his skepticism, the way that he knows Vader and he knows the Inquisitors, but he does not, the fact that other people have hope that Jedi can still be out there, he knows they can be. He has the opposite of whatever that hope the Jedi are out there is. He refuses to believe it, because if they refuse to believe it, they can dispel hope in all capacity, which I think is a really, really, again, interesting dichotomy to the light side.
Yeah, because he would be the only one to actually know. Like, he does say this. He's like, I knew the Jedi. I was like, I personally knew them. And he probably does know that there are still some out there, but maybe he's more of like the idea of the Jedi are dead. There might be some Force users out there, but the Jedi, there's no council, there's no any.
It's more a
big
principle
structure.
thing for him than it is anything else, and that's how I ultimately come away from this, because you're looking at the Grand Inquisitor, you work very close with Vader. Obviously, you know that Force users still exist. That's why I'm going to show you that this man isn't what he claims to be, or what he seems to be. I love that. But these were a couple really strong episodes. I absolutely love them. I felt like we're just heading in the right direction continuously with this show, and I had a great fucking time, man.
Yeah. I can't wait for the finale now, or the penultimate and the finale. I can't believe it's not like becoming clearer as I'm getting closer to the episodes of like what happens.
No, that's what's kind of cool about this show that I found, is that we'll get to episodes and I'm like, oh, we're already here. I just watched the show. I'm like, I thought this was season 2, middle of season 2. I'm like, we're already here.
The Travis storyline, I'm like, oh shit, we're going down.
I did
the
not
sewers.
whenever I said that a couple episodes ago, where I was like, do you remember that? I thought that was a season and a half away. I did not think that was coming up so quick. But it makes sense that it did, But that's what's cool, is that they managed to tell these quick, concise stories that feel very big and they feel very spanning, and they hit hard, man. So I love me some Rebels. It's hard to find a hole in it for me, but I can't wait to discuss our season 1 finale next week. But if you would, I can go ahead and do I'll do the plugs, and then we'll do some trivia thereafter. So if you would, head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod and at the FULCRUM Pod. At PennyBloomPod, our general flagship show, is going to point you in the right direction. Everywhere that everything that we're doing. We've got Sentimentalists launching in about a month, and you'll find that out on Penny Bloom Pod. We're doing the Penny Bloom Dispatch on Fridays. We've got the football season kicking off this weekend, so I'll be doing some picks on Penny Bloom Dispatch. We're gonna do a little sports segment every week to keep up with the football season. That's gonna be a fun time. Here in a couple weeks, Death by Television, as mentioned earlier, will be kicking off our TV podcast, which here in a couple days will be available, stocked with our entire watch of House of the Dragon and our entire rewatch of Game of Thrones. So that show is going to launch with over 90 episodes, and then we are actually going to be covering The Penguin, as it will premiere on the 19th here in about 2 weeks, and we'll be covering it on the 23rd. So we've got a lot of good stuff. Lots of good stuff. We're not doing video right now. We're waiting until we can get a more firm grasp on connection issues and stuff. But we will be returning to video, and when we do, it will be Patreon exclusive, patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, and for $1.50 a month, you could support the podcast financially, which is huge because it costs me money and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. but our audio versions are still available on YouTube. Go ahead and look up Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast. It will be there for you. You need to go ahead and find her. But, yeah, I think that's about the size of it. If you would, leave a 5-star rate and review and download wherever you might be listening. That is a huge help for me. And tune into Penny Bloom Podcast, where you'll find the Penny Bloom Dispatch this Friday. But, yeah, let's do some trivia. Let's do some trivia. If you would like to take her away, I am in.
All right, this one, it's just a one-word answer. And Hera just kind of being the dominant character for one of the episodes. I kind of just wanted it to pertain to her. So all I'm looking for is the name of the heirloom that Thrawn takes from her. Her family heirloom. What is the name of that?
The Kalikiri.
Okay.
Am I close?
I'm giving it to you because I would have not even Kalikori.
Kalikori, okay.
And maybe you did. I don't know. Maybe it is.
No,
pronounced,
I think Kalikori is right. Kalikiri is what. But yeah. Close enough. If you're willing to give it to me, you can. But I did technically get it wrong.
That I would not have even got anywhere near close.
No, yeah.
I saw this.
Had I not just rewatched the show, it would have completely escaped me. It would have. But yeah, Kalikori. All right. Yeah, no, I always I love Hera, so that was one of those things that most of her stuff does tend to stick with me. Most of her story beats, most of her arc. And the Kalikori, I mean, we mentioned Kanan's death episode earlier, and that ends up being oh God. We'll get there. We'll get there later.
We can wait for that one. Yeah, we can wait.
But speaking of things I have a bad feeling about, while they were not the first to say it, one character utters the iconic phrase, quote, "I have a bad feeling about this," more than any other on screen. Which character is it, and how many times do they say it?
And it's not... Okay, not the first person to say it. My initial thought was Solo?
Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich, because I think he just says it once. I don't think he says it multiple times. That wouldn't make sense for the long-standing. And
I'm actually pretty sure Alden Ehrenreich says, "I have a good feeling."
Good feeling.
This.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, he does flip it. That's right. So I thought that's where the question was going. Is someone who, someone I don't know, but okay. So not that. The other thought was 3PO.
Yeah,
that's
and the key
probably
is that they said it more than anybody else. So, and the second part, and you don't really have you can throw a guess out there. How many times did they say it? That is
okay.
That is the
okay.
Other part.
Wow. Yeah, I feel. Oh, is this including shows as well? No.
I'm doing movies. I'm doing
okay,
movies.
Just movies. Okay. I got a bad feeling about this. It's either Han or 3PO is my guess. That's kind of who I'm between. I think I'm gonna go with 3PO. I think.
Do you have a guess for the amount of times?
It'd be a complete guess, but I'm gonna say one more 10 times that he said it. One more than the movies. I don't know. Maybe he double dipped in one of the movies. I guess there's Rogue One. That I don't know if he's in Rogue One. But
he is in Rogue One. He has a little cameo, but he does not say. He's just kind of. So the answer was Han.
Damn. Okay, so it was okay.
It was Han, and if you include the I have a good feeling about this turn, it would be 4. But he said it 3 times. He said it in A New Hope. He said it in Return of the Jedi, and he said it in The Force Awakens.
Wow. Yeah. Now I'm wondering how many times the phrase has just been said in general by every character combined. Now,
well, and that's what was interesting. I looked into this because I did not know this off the top of my head. I thought it would be Han. That was what excited me about the question.
Wow.
But I wanted to find because I kind of think of his tone whenever I think I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, it's Han for sure. But I was just the reason I went with 3PO is I
always
felt,
I have a bad feeling about this. Yeah, like
does he ever actually? Because he might just give the statistics.
Yeah. Let's see. K2SO says it, so there's a droid for you.
Okay.
3PO says it when they enter Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
So 3PO only says it once, word for word.
Okay.
But Lando says it in The Rise of Skywalker. The Last Jedi is the first one that doesn't say it.
Wow.
But their BB-8 has a certain binary coding that Rian Johnson says. He actually said, I have a bad feeling about this there.
We had to get it in there somewhere. That's
yeah.
good. That's good. It's in there.
We got Han Solo in The Force Awakens. So 2 or 3, depending on how you look at it in the sequel trilogy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the original trilogy. Once in Rogue One by K2SO. We got the flip of it in Solo. We've got, and the second most anybody ever said it was Obi-Wan Kenobi. He said it twice, as he said it in the first movie in The Phantom Menace, and he said it in Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, really?
But
no,
when their starfighters are about to go into the doors closing, he's like, I have a bad feeling about this. You know, that's his one.
No, Old Ben. Old Ben never says it. In A New Hope?
He does not. A New Hope is exclusively Luke. He's the first person who says it when they're approaching the Death Star. So that's no moon. That's the iconic line Obi-Wan gets to deliver during that time. And then Luke's like, I have a bad feeling about this. And then the walls of the trash compactor are closing in. And that's when Han Solo says it for the first time.
Wow. Man. Yeah, Han. I guess I was between Han and 3PO. I don't, now that I'm out, hindsight. It is.
No, well, 3PO's the anxious one. It does make sense that your gut would go there. So I was happy to hear it. But yeah, Han Solo said it 3 times, and that was the extent of it. They're actually much more lenient with it than, or stringent with it, I should say, than you would think. Even though it is in every movie, it's only in every movie once or twice.
Wow. Yeah, maybe my number 10 was way off. 10 is maybe for the total, not just Han. Yeah. But man, okay. Yeah, I like. At least it is Han. That does feel right, because you're right. Now that I'm thinking of the line, it is Han's voice.
Feeling about this, and it's funny to think about it that way, because I don't know. I wonder if that is the tone he says it the first time he says it, or if I'm thinking about a different time he says it. Because I'm like, when the trash compactor's walls start closing in, does he just go, oh, I have a bad feeling about this? Is it just kind of that monotone, low voice, not panicked or anything? Because he gets pretty wily at times. But yeah, I don't know. I liked the question. It occurred to me. I knew it was accessible, so I wanted to see what you thought. But all right, then we got the Calicori for the Hera family heirloom, and Han Solo saying, I have a bad feeling about this 3 times, 4 if you include, I've got a good feeling about this.
All right.
But then, with that, we will conclude this episode of Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast, and we'll be back next week to conclude Rebels Season 1. I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, for light and life,